You have left me unsupervised with the microphone.
There you go. Mic on. Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Gear Up for Grad School panel this evening. We have us here at the Success Team gearing up for grad school after grad school. Through to the audience of, of the to have share in graduate school. Start with you.
What am I supposed to say again?
Yeah. Introduce yourself. Introduce yourself and where you went to grad school.
Okay, so Dr. Akeisha Belgrave. So those who might not know me, program lead of engineering and mathematical sciences, and I have a background in engineering, but I went to grad school for biomedical sciences. So that was my PhD, and I went to UConn.
Can you hear me? Okay, this is working. Yeah. Hi, I am Malik Potter. I'm a student success coordinator here. I currently am attending Shippensburg University, getting my master's in college counseling and student affairs. So it's half higher education practices, and then the other half is a clinical mental health counseling. My background is in business management, so I have a background working with businesses, consulting, and the consulting areas I worked in particularly were with government in the financial industry.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Gray, a longtime listener, first-time caller. I'm currently enrolled at DePaul University for my PhD in computer science. I have background in computer science and math in my undergrad and graduate program. I went to Dickinson for computer science and math. I went to DePaul for my master's degree, and I liked it so much I decided to stay. And that's what got me back into teaching at higher ed. Was I enjoyed my master's program so much, I decided to get my PhD and become a professor. And that's where I'm at right now. And now I'm sitting on a panel about grad school. Back to you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much. Many of our students, some of the ones that are attending this evening, are interested in grad school, but they're getting all the skills in the classroom, integrating with you all and some of the activities around campus, but they're trying to see if pursuing a graduate degree can align with their career goals and aspirations. So, how can they determine if pursuing a graduate degree can align with their career goals and aspirations?
Sorry, I had to get it on. That is a great question. How do you determine if you are interested in going to grad school or if your master's degree is required for what you want to do? So there's a lot of factors that go into deciding if you'd like to continue your education post-bachelor's, and a lot of them are very similar to your experiences in undergraduate school, but also your decision to go into school for your bachelor's degree as well. So some of those factors are location, time, the cost of the program that you're interested in, what your interests and skill sets are. But I think the most important one that I noticed that stood out between your bachelor's program and your master's program was experience. So your experience and exposure to your content in the classroom and in the field helps shape your decision as what you'd like to do. So an example using my personal experience, I started out with a business degree because that's what I thought I wanted to go to school for. I graduated and I worked in the nonprofit realm, corporate realm. I worked in the government sector. And what shaped my experience the most was the human services aspect of my work. So my experience in the field, working with people, dealing on the business back end, I thought that it made me want to go into human services. So it's what led me to higher education and the counseling realm. So the biggest factor for me going into what graduate program I wanted to pursue was my experience as a professional, but also as a student.
And for the students, I would say your best resource on this is talk to your professors. Like, seriously. Especially here, we have so many people with industry experience that they understand what it's like out there. So, the computer science majors in the world, big shout out to the computer science majors, you don't even need a computer science degree to get a job in programming. You can get an associate's or a bunch of certs, right? Now, I talk a lot in my class about how an undergraduate degree is beneficial. It makes you more flexible. It shows that you have an ability to complete a task, all these things, right? Master's degree will help you in the field as well. If you're an INSC, my understanding, and I'm an idiot when it comes to chemistry and biology, but my understanding is with an undergraduate degree, you have some career opportunities, but really you need a master's degree in order to be able to have those opportunities open up to them. So every discipline is different, every field is different. One of your best resources on whether or not this is a prudent move or a prudent move for you right now is talk to your faculty and just, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing, this is what I'm looking at. Do you think an advanced degree would be useful for me, or do you think experience first, and then if I'm still interested? That would be my biggest advice.
All right. So since Malik and Brian took everything that I was going to say, uh,
You did that on purpose.
so all right. So I would think my biggest one that I was looking at would be I had to figure out what I wanted to do. And for me, I like teaching. I like talking to people. I always like kind of sharing how to do certain things. So for me, I wanted to teach. And for my field to teach, I had to get a PhD. So like they were saying, it's specific to certain majors, certain programs. So you have to figure out what you want to do, research the area, and you might not know specifically what you want to do, but research the area, and then some of them you might see that you might need just a master's degree. So, for instance, engineering. If I had stuck to engineering, I might not have needed to go to a PhD. I can do pretty good with just a master's degree for engineering. For science stuff, I want to do pure science or anything wet lab or going to academia, then I found that my best bet was to do a PhD. So I think that would be my best advice there. So.
So each of you talked a little bit about you're in your program, you had some professional growth opportunities. So could you elaborate on some of the benefits that you had while you were attending or currently attending, and for two of our panelists, and some of the professional growth that you've had through those opportunities?
Keisha, you go first so we don't steal your stuff this time.
So, credibility. I guess people look at you a certain way when you are at a certain height in your life when it comes to academia. You get a little bit more recognition or opportunities. I also would say my research skills, that was a great opportunity to get. In undergrad, you don't get a whole heap of that opportunity. It's mostly just on doing work, just sitting there taking the classes. So research, also meeting a lot more people. In graduate school, I got to go to a lot more conferences, a lot more opportunities. So I was able to network and meet people that helped me to get the job that I had moving forward. In graduate school, I was actually able to go to a particular conference, a biophysical conference in Maryland, never forget it. And I went up to a poster and I was talking to the guy about the poster, like, oh, I'm doing something like this in my PhD. By the next week, he called my cell phone And I don't have a clue up to this day how he got my phone. He probably called my PhD advisor. But he called my phone. I was outside. I was at University of Arizona because I did my last year at the University of Arizona. And he said, well, I have one of my postdocs that is leaving to go back to Germany. Do you want a job? And immediately I was just like, yeah, who are you again? But yeah, so that's when I went on. I did my postdoc at Princeton because he called me and he said, do you want to come and fill in for the guy that was leaving? So I think that would be that's what kind of helped me out when I was going to grad school.
Wow, you did cover a lot. That is great. So, what helped me as far as professional development and what I'm still experiencing as I'm going through grad school now, a lot of your grad school experience is shaped around professional development and growth. So, what I mean by that is a lot of grad school experiences they have mandated requirements that say, hey, you should belong to a professional organization. So, before you graduate, you have to have this membership done. And what that will do is that will expose you to a lot of people in the field, research opportunities, webinars, a lot of different conferences that show up. You'll have notifications about that, but also grad schools also, for my personal experience, provide you opportunities for employment as well. So we get weekly updates about different jobs and people who are looking to network with our grad program. As far as professional development, that's one aspect of it. Another aspect that I thought was very beneficial was my grad school mandated that we go to a conference in order for us to graduate. So I had the opportunity to go to a conference in New Orleans for ACPA, which is a higher ed organization. And they paid for me to go there. I was there for a week and I got to network with a lot of different people. One, to see what I like about higher ed, but get exposed to so many different aspects of it. So networking with people, getting to see different areas of higher ed that I thought were interesting or it was beneficial to me, it helped shape what I want to do and also shape my experience here at HU. So I thought that the conferences were a big part of it, but then also them forcing us to get off our comfort zone and experience different things.
And for me, it was largely the undergrad experience again. And I don't mean that in a bad way. What I mean is the same leg up that getting a bachelor's degree in a software engineering and computer science, a technical field like that, um, it gets you a little more money on the back end. That's nice. But really what it does is it differentiates yourself from other candidates, the candidates who have the ITT Tech and the 2 certs from Microsoft. I don't have any Microsoft certifications. I just know how to code well, right? So you do that again, you go to the master's level, and again, it's another step up. Yeah, you get a little more money. It's really nice, but the real thing is when you're in an interview and you know that there's 2 other people who are just as qualified as you know that you have that extra merit badge. You got that leg up, and in my industry, sometimes that doesn't matter. Sometimes people actually see that as a negative. Oh, he went to more school. This is a bad thing. But most of the time, people see it as, again, an ability to commit, an ability to work on tasks that maybe you don't want to do because sometimes you got to take that class that no one wants to take. It's an ability to see through to the end. It's an ability to show improvement. It's an ability to show consistency, right? So for me, those were the biggest benefits. On an academic level, it's just the ability to expand what you're working on, what you're looking at, newer topics, more diverse topics, more intense topics, and the ability to work on your own. Oh no, our screens went down. Oh well, we'll figure it out. So yeah, that was really the biggest thing for me was that tie break in an interview and the ability to work in areas that I didn't have a chance to before, because computer science is very much 2 years of getting you up to speed and then 2 years of play. Master's program is 2 more years of play. PhD is, depending on how you do it, 10 to 15 years of play.
Mm-hmm.
I enrolled in 2010.
Okay. Okay. Uh, many of our students, when they were selecting to come to HU, they were thinking about the schools that they wanted to attend. Well, that process can be similar for graduate school, but it can be difficult to navigate, especially if you're the first one in your family to ever go to grad school. I know for me, I was the first one in my family to go to grad school, so I didn't have the support at home to understand how to effectively navigate it. So, what are some tips that we could give our students to select the right program for themselves and see what program is the right fit and the right school.
I'll go first for this one. Contact the school, contact the program, reach out to faculty there. Usually there's a department chair or a program lead who you can have a conversation with, right? That's step one. And step two, and I was just talking about this in class today, the other thing that you want to look for is don't pay for grad school if you don't have to, right? Ask about grad assistantship, research assistantship, especially if you are just coming out of undergrad and you're used to, having a side gig, but really not, making, adult salaried cash yet, because it is real hard to give that up once you have it. I heard that when I was in college. I went, come on, it'll be easy. Nope, it's nearly impossible. So grad assistantship or research assistant, you become basically an employee for the school. And they will cover tuition and frequently room and board if you're willing to live in on-campus housing a little longer. And they give you a little money on the side. It's not a ton of money, but if you're getting housing and eating at the dining hall still, even in a big city, $20,000 a year is enough to be able to do what you need to. So do not pay for grad school if you don't need to. As someone who left with $108,000 worth of debt. Okay, give that a moment to set in. That's a lot of money, right? Now, I was a software engineer. That was a calculated risk on my part. I wasn't an English major. But, it's still money I wish I hadn't had to pay back. So put that in the equation early.
There you go, stealing ideas again. So I was going to say never pay for graduate school.
That's how serious we are. We're saying it twice. Malik, say it the third time. Okay, good.
Yeah, so there are so many programs out there. If they really want you, they would accept you. But anyhow, PhDs are free, especially those of you in the sciences. It is free. Don't let them dupe you into paying. If you go and do a PhD, it is covered. And they pay you to do a PhD. Yes, they pay you. They don't pay you to do the PhD. I'm lying. But they give you a stipend. Mine was $28,000. Yeah, I just had to rub that in a little bit. So you use that money and you could, pay for. I had an apartment, so I didn't stay in a dorm or anything like that. But it was enough for an apartment. Some of us had families and all of that, so it is free. If you decide to do a master's, there are other ways as well, like Brian was saying just now. Here's like can do like research assistantship, grad assistantships, TA positions. You can do all sorts of different things that will actually cover your grad program as well. Now, I might be speaking and being biased because this is not all grad programs, but the majority of them is paid for. You said step one was to talk to the people at the actual university. So I'm going to go to module 0. Module 0. So step 0 is to actually get yourself a book, a nice $1 composition book. And I'm sorry, $1. The Dollar Tree is now $1.25. So get yourself a nice $1.25 composition book. And because you're going to be have to do a lot of research. Here's my advice. Look through something that's in your field. Go on their website. They usually tell you how much it's going to cost per year or if it's covered. You write a list of them. You want to also look at locations if you want to stay close to family. That's another situation. But if you want to stay in a particular area, make a list and narrow everything down. Once you get that done, go and start reaching out to the schools. Look for, especially for me, I was in the sciences. So what I did is that I went onto the websites and I went to their research page and I looked to see who was doing something that I was interested in. Not just reaching out to anyone, but look for people who are doing things in the field that you're interested in, and then reach out to the instructor themselves. So I didn't reach out to someone in the admin team or the coordinator of the program or anything like that. I reached out to the instructor themselves, the researcher themselves, and then if they like me, they also gave me a opportunity. They went and talked to the admin. They really wanted me there, so they made it happen. So I think that would be my other kind of advice. Please don't limit yourself to location. Go out there, make a life for yourself, get away from family as far as possible so that you can also build you and not just kind of try to stay in that comfort zone. So that's another my little 2 cents there. Emily.
Wow, they don't even need me up here.
It is
No,
not
they
true.
did a
That is
great job
not
covering
true.
it. To reiterate the most important part, it is for those that weren't paying attention, do not pay for grad school.
Yeah.
And I say that because there's a lot of different, to drive home what Akeisha was saying, there's a lot of different life factors that go into grad school as well. So there's the expectation of you go through undergrad and you have to get out in the real world. It also depends on what your home life is like, what your income is like, and your ability to make moves. So for some people that don't have a lot of responsibilities, let's say they don't have children, you have the opportunity to go out and look at a larger institution or an institution that can support you more to pay for your PhD or your master's program. And we can talk into specifics in that in a second. But for those that don't, it may be beneficial for you to look at a job market that will pay for your degree. And what I mean by that is, say you work at a higher ed institution, most higher ed institutions will have you go through their master's program there or a neighboring master's program they partner with or PhD and have it covered. It also can go through a government job. You can find them at nonprofits, or if you work at a corporation and you're getting a master's degree in something similar, they will cover it because it's beneficial to them in the long run. So there's different ways to get to your goal. You just have to decide how important is it for you and what your timeline is. Another aspect I'd like to add in about when you're picking a grad school and finding the right support systems, we oftentimes sell ourselves short and look for, okay, I want to go to grad school, but I know it's expensive. So when we look at a small institution, sometimes smaller institutions don't have the funds and means to support you properly, right? So my recommendation would be it's counterintuitive, but actually look at the larger institutions because larger institutions have the ability to support you with when it comes to financial aid. So one example, I am suffering from paying for grad school out of pocket. So I was lucky enough, I was a financial advisor and I had my own business. So I was stable enough to pay for my own grad school and work a GA to cover my tuition. I still go to a smaller institution. So with a smaller institution, they can't support me as much as far as funding goes or different resources available as a student. I had the opportunity to interact with people in the field. Once I went to ACPA, again, another professional development opportunity. I went to a conference and then I was exposed to a lot of people that work at different universities. And they were saying that when they go to grad school, they go to like a Pitt or a Princeton. Their graduate, their GAs, TAs, and RA positions are available. They pay for their tuition. Sometimes they cover the cost of housing, and their stipends can range anywhere between 20 and the largest I've seen was 45. 45,000 a year to get your PhD. Some positions coming out of school don't pay that much. So if you're going somewhere, look at larger institutions because larger institutions normally can support you financially.
He said 45. Now I
I'm
feel.
aware.
I
I'm
know,
aware.
right? I was feeling good. It was 30.
Yeah.
It's all right. Like very similar to you. I was at an institution, smaller, um, had a tuition discount being in the program, but I also worked full time for the institution while I was there. So I had a different type of discount. So definitely helped. I am still paying for grad school. I have a little bit of a loan related to that, but not as much because I did what you suggested. So it's definitely worth doing that if you have the ability to.
And if you work in industry, especially in the technology side, a lot of companies will pay for school. Companies that I worked for, you had to show a direct relationship between the course and your job. That was usually pretty simple to do. You know, computer science applies to programming jobs, so that's also an option. But you want to talk to the HR department wherever you work. And find out what strings are attached, because sometimes you have to stay there for a certain number of years after the class or after the degree, and if not, you have to pay it back. So again, free is free, but know what you're signing up for.
Sorry, I wanted to add one more thing. We're spending a lot of time with this question, but I do think this is valuable. In addition to looking at employers and universities that will help support you, there are fellowship programs and organizations that will help support you through grad school as well. So, for an example, I am a minority male who works in mental health, and I see clients on the side. So, because I work in the mental health field and I'm a minority, I joined a minority-based mental health program, and as a fellow, they're assisting me with my tuition to pay for me to go through school. Does it make sense? So to have not only support from the institution I'm working at, but then also had the opportunity to explore a GA at the institution I'm taking my classes at, I had the opportunity to join outside organizations to help support me on that journey. So please do your research. Like Akeisha said, go to the dollar store, find go to the $1.25 store, grab a composition notebook, and explore all your options.
Good insights, everyone. So we learned a lot this week from some of our other events, particularly around jobs and internships and residencies, that there's an application process and there's a timeline around that. So I'm sure there's the same thing around graduate programs. So could you three give us some insight about the timeline for applying to grad programs, deadlines, maybe even paying attention to some of the prerequisites related to the student's current program that they need to be mindful of as they're applying?
So in tech, what I've seen mostly, and this might not be true for some of the older schmancier institutions, but generally speaking, everywhere I looked had rolling admissions, even 15 years ago. So that just means that you apply when you're ready to apply, and then the next semester start, you get in if you get in. However, many institutions require GREs or some equivalent testing, and that can take a while to schedule, and it is a big deal. It is security equivalent to getting on an airplane to get into the testing room, because they are very serious about making sure that you only go in with what you are allowed to have, nothing more. And because of that, spots in the testing centers can be difficult to get. You might need to, schedule a month and a half, 2 months out. So if you know when an application deadline is, if the application for spring term is, due December 1st, you should be scheduling your GRE now, possibly even 2 weeks ago. Get a time machine, ask me this question 2 weeks ago, and I'll tell you to schedule it then. So just understand that. That's the biggest advice I would have, because nobody likes taking a standardized test. Nobody likes to pay to take a standardized test. And nobody likes going out of their way to take a standardized test. And I've seen lots of people go, I'll deal with that later. And then they think, oh, I can schedule it last minute. No, it's not like that. Not anymore. It might have been 15 years ago when this started, but it's not like that anymore. So that would be the biggest advice I have seen personally.
Okay, so going right back to what I said before about researching the institutions. So if you have to do your research, especially if you're going to school right now, it's going to take some time because you need this time to do it. So if you are a junior, you should be looking for schools right now. You should be doing your research and everything like that. Don't wait for senior year. If you're in senior year, start doing it right now. As we're talking right now, you're on the computer, start pulling up the web pages and looking for schools because you're behind. So look for schools. And then once you look for schools, you have to, like Brian was saying, you got to think about some of them might ask for test scores. Some schools I realize are now dropping the requirements for like the GRE and different things like that. So you have to see, is this particular school asking for scores? Give yourself time to take it because it will be full. But not only that, they need certain scores. So you might have to take it over again. So you want to make sure that you give yourself time to at least take it 1 or 2, even 3 times. And don't feel bad to have to take it that much. I took my SAT twice. Can't remember how much times I took my GRE. I didn't even need a GRE. Based on certain schools, I needed it, but I decided against it after that, against a particular school, so I didn't need it eventually. But I still gave myself enough time to be able to register for it and actually take the GRE. You also, on the websites as well, once you're researching, you're going to find the enrollment dates. And then they have a lot more requirements, like recommendation letters. They will ask for recommendation letters. So we are busy. Us professors are busy. So if you ask for, I see Brian taking his microphone up. If you asking for
No.
a recommendation letter, please do not ask us a week in advance or even 2 weeks in advance. I will forget. So you want to make sure that you're scheduling it ahead of time to give us, I would say, at least a month. And that's probably, at least a month.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you tell me you would like a recommendation letter. You want to make sure that you're choosing the right person for that recommendation letter. So you got to give yourself enough time for that as well. So recommendation letters, deadline for standardized tests. You want to make sure that you know the deadlines for the applications are, especially they have admissions for the spring semester, the fall semester, rolling admissions, etc. So you want to make sure you write down all of the information for the particular schools that you're looking for.
Yes, don't be like me and wait till the last minute to ask for a recommendation letter. So different components. Well, I always like to say start with the end in mind. And how I remember that is a saying my dad taught me was plan your work and work your plan. You have to plan your work, you have to plan what you're going to do, and then you follow through with those steps, right? So whenever I was looking for PhD programs, initially I was looking for a PhD program. My process was figuring out what I wanted to do with the end in mind. The end was I want to work with people and be a counselor, but also wanted to have a large platform to connect with a lot of different people and also work in higher education. So how could I do that? The research told me that I needed to get at least a master's degree, right? So I applied to one master's program and a bunch of different PhD programs. The application process, for most of them, I seen it was a trend that GREs are starting to fade away as a requirement, but it is value added. So if it's something that you're interested in that may assist you in your application process, please follow through with it. I always say it doesn't hurt to have it. Another aspect that I took in consideration whenever I was applying was reaching out to the admissions counselors and asking them about the application process. So I learned how to package myself. So what my steps were ironing out all of the details in the application portal. I needed letters of recommendation, I needed a personal statement, and making time for myself to make sure my personal statement was in order. I had to really figure out what my why was and why I wanted to go to that institution. Not only why did I want to do what I wanted to do, but why that institution specifically. So, ironic enough, I had to go to different universities and find out what programs were there, what the population and community was like, what their involvement in the community was like, and all the research that I put together shaped how each individual personal statement went. So my personal statements were together, my letters of recommendation were together, some last minute, based off of what the school's expectations were and what I wanted to represent myself as.
You are way more put together than I ever am. I got to tell you that. But I do want to follow up on the letter of recommendation thing just for a moment. And I feel like this shouldn't have to be said, but I'm going to say it anyway. Also, ask before you submit a name. Like that is right? Like, every now and then I'm like, oh, someone has asked for a letter of recommendation. I went, okay, this is a surprise. Okay, pop quiz, hot shot, right? Other people do a very good job of asking. Hannah, thank you very much. I told you, I'll get on that. So yes, just ask. Don't just assume that your professor or whomever has the time, the ability, the wherewithal, the interest to do have the conversation.
So, and with all that said, 12 to 18 months, start putting together, or I'll start researching the schools that you would want to, that you're interested in and want to apply to. So I just had to put a number to it.
And part of the application process, you're not just including potentially those test scores, those recommendation letters. There could be a personal statement or an essay that the school wants you to answer related to why you want to be in that program and some of your
Transcripts.
career goals, your resume or a CV to include. So there's a lot of different aspects that's included in that application. So are there any tips related to those specific documents that you could give to help a student stand out in the application process?
Absolutely. So, again, starting with the end in mind, you have to learn how to, one, package your why. I think that is very important no matter where you go or whatever institution you like to look at. And what I mean by package your why is your application is going to go, they're going to look at the requirements based off of your transcripts. They're going to look at your resume to see what's there. But then you really have to know how to package yourself to say, this is why my experiences make sense for me to be here. The best place for you to go to do that would be the Career Services Center, but then also connecting with Student Success. If you don't know where to go, we can connect you with the Career Services Center. Experiential learning will help you with your why statement, how to package your resume and CV, but then also that gives you the opportunity to look at what you want your internship experience to be like, what you want your project to be like, what your interests are, especially when it comes to landing a research assistantship or a graduate assistantship or a teaching assistantship. You can tailor your projects and your internship or your internship to experiences that look good for graduate school if you know graduate school is something that you're interested in.
And that's all great advice, and I agree. But I'm going to go to the other end, which is don't go overboard and follow the rules, right? The best way to lose out on a job, the best way to lose out on admissions process is to give them the wrong stuff. Give them too much stuff. Hey, we asked for a personal statement that is maximum 1,000 words. You gave us a 50-page document. That's no bueno, right? Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, no. I don't even want to talk to this person, let alone have them in my class for 3 years. Like, no. So, like, just make sure when it says, hey, we need this, and this, these things are optional. Make sure you get, you check all the boxes, and you don't check any additional boxes that they didn't ask for because they don't have the time or the energy to look at that. A lot of these schools are getting hundreds of applications a start per program, right? Let's be clear on this. At Harrisburg University, you got 400 undergrads-ish. We are a small school in the undergraduate program. I went to Dickinson. That's a small school. It is 4 times bigger in the undergraduate. So when you're looking at grad schools, if you're looking at Penn State, University of Maryland, these are big research institutions nearby. There's 40,000 students at main campus, okay? It is like the 3rd largest town in Pennsylvania on, football Saturdays. Just make sure that you're making their life as easy as possible because it never hurts to brown nose a little bit. And if you're making their life easier, that's going to be one merit badge on your application. And that might be the difference.
Okay, so I have about 2 things. So personal statements. So when you're doing your research for the personal statements, I know the advice that I got was to like tailor it to the school. So you want to make sure that when you're writing your statement that you butter them up a little bit and say, honestly, I did this. This was a lie. And I went on the website and they said, okay, we're really interested in this, whatever. So I wrote my statement and I was just like, I love dealing with this and everything that I saw that they were talking about. I tailored my personal statement around it to make it seem, like I said, is a lie. Don't get in the habit of telling lies. But I'm going to tell you to do it anyhow. So when you're writing your statement, you want to make sure that you tailor it for the school. So you're going to have different statements for each school that you apply to. Do not do a generic one because they're going to be able to tell it's generic. All right? So that's my one thing. Next thing is get in the habit today in writing good emails and contacting your professors. Like now, I get emails. Hey, you saw my that I submitted my thing? What's up?
Yo, Gray.
Yeah, right? Things like that.
Seriously.
That's the very first thing that from the time you do this, if you're contacting the researchers out there that you want to try to make an impression to try to go to their institution, yo, hey you, is not going to cut it. You will not even get through the application process. So when you're doing that, start from now to start being respectful when you write, to make sure that you are, saying appropriate stuff and addressing them the right way. Especially look up their names. If they're PhD, say Dr. whoever. Some people don't care, like me. I don't really care. Some people say Miss Belgrave constantly all the time. Some people say Belgrave, right? Because they might not be sure that's just how they are. But some people really care about this. You gotta say doctor. So you wanna make sure when you're doing your research that you see, does this person have a MS? Does this person have a PhD? And address them correctly and respectfully.
Okay, there we go. The only thing I would add to your advice about tailoring the letter is, first of all, I would absolutely do that. So like, don't think that I'm above this. This is not what I'm saying. However, you don't want to get caught in a situation, especially if you're going for a terminal degree that involves research and working with faculty, going, you know what? I love neural networks. Neural networks are amazing. I think they're the coolest thing in the world, and you get accepted. It's like, you're going to be working on neural networks for 4 years. And then you have that moment of going, I don't even know what that is. I just put it, I know what neural networks are. I teach them all the time. They're the brain things. I don't know. But like, don't put something into your letter that, don't go overboard. Don't be like, oh, I've done all this. First of all, that's, absolutely padding a resume. That's not good. But also understand that you might be writing a check that you have to cash. If this is a research position or something like that, they might go, great, we needed someone just like you. And that, I don't care how much you want to get into, Rensselaer. If you're working on something that you're not good at, have no interest in, and sort of despise, that's going to be the longest, coldest winter of your life. And then you're going to look for a new grad school because it's not going to work out. So other than that, though, I love it.
You guys make me laugh. I wanted to add, just to sum this experience up, whenever we talk about a personal statement, it's really, really quintessential for you to understand who you are and understand what your experience is and make the most out of it so that it's packaged well on your personal statement. So it's really bridging the gap between finding out what they expect and what they're looking for and how you bring your real authentic self out to meet those expectations. So one example for me would be if I were applying to a graduate program, this actually happened, and they asked for experience working with someone one-on-one directly, providing one-on-one support in the student services field. I never met with anyone in human services and never had like a counseling appointment or anything of that nature. And my experience was I worked in finances and I had interns as an internship director at Northwestern Mutual, right? So I was like, man, I've never met with anyone and provided one-on-one direct support as far as like the mental health side goes. But I know the one thing I did love about my experience was meeting with someone one-on-one and being able to help them. And also, it doesn't hurt to show your areas of growth and vulnerability. So how I packaged my experience that was attractive to my program was I came out and said, hey, I've never worked with a student in this capacity. I was able to help people with financial advice, but then not being able to support them in this way bothered me. So I'm really inquisitive of how I can improve that way, or what ways you can help me grow in that area. That way you show that you are, one, authentic, but then two, you have areas for growth that the university can contribute to. And after I submitted my application there, I got a call directly from a faculty member who was on the admission committee, and they just wanted to talk. And then I actually was able to skip the interview process, and that's why I went with the program that I went to.
Nice. I do want to say one more thing about the personal statement. If you're not a good writer, have someone take a look at it, right? Being a strong writer, it doesn't matter your field, right? Computer science majors, most of them can barely speak, let alone write. Trust me, it helps. If you are a strong writer, regardless of your field, if you can communicate your thoughts and ideas succinctly, but with some color so that they're memorable, it is going to make a difference. It will absolutely help you get into a grad school or the program that you want or with the advisor that you want. There is no downside to this.
Thank you all. Good insights. So when students come to HU, they probably realize that we are very collaborative with faculty in our student support services as we work together to support our students, because that's at the heart of what we do. And especially
I
with
don't like the students. What are you talking about?
especially with the projects that they get to do, experiential learning. So grad school, can students expect that their faculty are going to support them?
No.
And that there's going to be support services in place? Is that the same? So can you share a little bit about that?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because whoa. They are collaborative a bit, but I will tell you the truth. You guys are babied here. You get a lot. It's tough work out there. It kind of opened up my eyes. I had to open up my eyes honestly and realize I need to work on this. I'm by myself. I need to get things done. They are serious. This is no longer undergrad. When they say they need something done on Monday, they want it done on Monday. They don't want to hear any excuses. So collaboration and stuff like that, they will a bit. Like I worked in two different I was doing research in two different programs, so I guess we collaborated a bit, but we don't get as much as from my experience, I did not get as much collaboration at all when I went to grad school. So yeah, prepare for that.
With my grad school experience, I feel as though mine is a little bit non-traditional because I'm at a counseling program. So for counselors, you are supposed to look at someone in a holistic light to see they are balancing a lot of things. So mine's a little bit more lenient. However, one thing I did notice with working with other graduate programs at Shippensburg University, they have really strict requirements and restrictions. So for an example, looking at your syllabus in a class, and even in the classes I have now, they say if you have one absence, it can be excused, but two absences, you automatically fail the class. So attendance does matter, right? If you have failed more than one class, then you're automatically kicked out of the program. And these are things that are outlined on their website or on their grad school policies. It can vary per department. It can vary per university. It depends on what those are. You have access to this research, and that's a part of the things that you should look up before you commit to a program. Also, looking at graduate student support services, understanding what links they go to support students and what resources are available varies per university. I would like to mention that it does vary based off of university size as well. So a smaller institution, like I mentioned before, may not be able to support you at great lengths and offer a lot of resources, but larger institutions may be able to as well.
Yeah, the baseline support, right? The mental health, things like that. That's going to be available to you because you're a student. So whatever an undergrad would have, a graduate student would have. Yeah, I tell my students that sometimes your professors in grad school, the relationship can be borderline adversarial. I am forever embittered about a summer course that I took that was accelerated. So it was a 5-week course. We met 4 times a week for 3 hours a day. I was unemployed at the time. I could do it. It's legit reasons. Don't worry about it. I'll tell you some other time. We have a connection. So the assignment, the first big lab was due Friday of the first week, and it was returned Wednesday of the 4th week. In between, I had 3 more labs and a midterm. And, we do, some of us do better than others around here, but we really do try to get you feedback quickly because that's how people learn. That is the basis of learning is quick, unambiguous, robust feedback. That is one of the hallmarks of learning in any medium. I had made a mistake on the first lab. Hadn't even made a mistake. I did it in a way that the professor did not prefer. And I got no feedback, and I did it in lab 2, and I did it in lab 3, and I did it on the midterm. And it cost me an A. And thank God I took a wildly difficult class my second semester because otherwise that would have cost me my 4.0 and I would be standing on this chair screaming about this professor, this jerk, and I would be using words that I normally don't use in public, so don't do what Professor Gray does. But this is the point, right? Like, okay, I'm making everyone laugh. Grad professors are there to get the information out. And if you're confused, that's why you have a textbook. And if you have a problem with that, that's also why you have a textbook. And that's just how it is sometimes. And like, you got to be cool with that. And if you're not, you know, you can complain. It's probably only going to, even if the professor's in the wrong, in a lot of places, all that's going to do is mark you as a complainer, and now your time has gotten more difficult, and now you have a reputation in the department. I know that that's not how life should be. It is sometimes how life is. So just keep that in mind. There are some great faculty out there at every graduate school who really are interested in the students and interested in teaching and really care that you understand and will sit with you. And there are other professors who will say, if you have any questions, and then just walk out the room. So just, you know, keep that in mind. You are not going to have the support in the classroom at a level that you would have at an undergraduate institution. It's just how it is.
And I'll just add, I know you get a taste of it with your projects while you're here at HU when you're picking your advisors in your program and aligning your topic with the expertise of the faculty member, most likely, because you want to make sure that what you're researching is aligning with their expertise. Because if you're with somebody that doesn't necessarily have a background on what you're focused on in your research, it's going to be a different style of advising as you're working on that research. So it's really important that you look into the faculty that you're working with. I know I had to do research for my master's program, and the faculty that I worked with, he had a background in some of the areas that I was looking into. So it really made a difference because I was going to choose somebody else, and I'm glad I went with who I went with because the other person did not have a background in what I wanted to research. So that really made a difference in my research and just my experience in general.
Oh yeah, one more thing for the PhD students out there, the students who are looking at PhDs, understand that your relationship with your advisor is not what your project advisor is going to be. Dr. Belgrave, let me ask you something. While you were working on your PhD, did you ever have a series of meetings where you brought up questions or concerns and your advisor said, "That looks good, that looks good, that looks good," and then you got in front of them potentially at like a proposal or defense, and the same topic, you see the look on the face? I don't even have to finish the thought. And the same topic that you've brought up 3 or 4 times, your advisor looks you dead in the eyes and said, "Why didn't you consider X, Y, or Z?"
They throw you to the wolves. I remember that. I was right at the top, talking to them, just like, but you said.
You said everything was kosher. What's going on? Yeah, and now you're grilling me, single swinging light bulb behind you. Yeah, so just understand that relationship is different, and everybody goes through it. And I need to be clear: everybody hates it, but it's part of the process. Again, it shouldn't be like that, and yet here we are. So just if you're going to look for a PhD, understand that going in.
All good insights. So while you're enrolled, different opportunities, you get to experience potentially research. So Dr. Belgrave got to do research, be in the lab a lot. Malik,
I slept in the
he
lab
slept
on the
in lab.
floor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Malik, you, even though you're currently working while doing grad school, you also have this outside fellowship that you're able to be a part of and go to these conferences. Dr. Gray, potentially soon to be Dr. Gray,
I hope so.
is working on other grants and research, including the research that he's doing towards his PhD. So there's opportunities there, while not only while you take your classes, but to do these extra things to enhance your skill sets. So, which is very good. But aside from that, you graduated and then you're looking at the different career outcomes. And I want to open it up to the room for any questions that we have here shortly, but can you, the 3 of you, and Malik, you've been here for a short time here at HU, but could you all share maybe some success stories or examples of HU students that were here, but went on to graduate school or maybe are attending grad school here at HU, and how they're leveraging their degrees to reach their career goals?
Okay. So I have one big success story. I know. So, there is a student that I did not know him a lot in his first year. Some faculty did, and I can tell you from what they said, he was not doing great. Nothing was going right. His GPA was not doing great. He did a major turnaround. Major turnaround. I met him when he came to do his project with me. So he did his project with me. He stayed on in my lab, my research lab, and continued with me. He got a couple prizes when we went to PAS and everything like that. And he is currently now probably in his fourth or fifth year finishing up his PhD in molecular biology at Princeton University. So, and he just got a big grant from the government to fund that work and also fund his time there. He's about to finish up, and he is praised there as well. They really love him in that lab, love him enough to come back to give back to HU, which they did last year. It was last year, right? Yes, so they came back and they wanted to work with more of our students because of that. So Micah Burton.
But it might have been Tyler, because I know Tyler was also a good one.
Tyler, but Tyler is now a lab tech. Yes, so he didn't go to grad school, but he is a lab tech. He worked really hard. He's a lab tech right now at in a microbiology lab.
Cool.
So I have about 20 of them that actually passed through my lab. And I think all of them right now are either in PA school. One just started, two started PA school, one just started pharmacy school. So I have a lot of them right now that are either lab techs or in grad school.
For me, for the students who I've seen, a lot of them have gone through the 5-year master's program, and then they leave and they go make money, and I just tell them to remember to tip the waiter occasionally, just, and that's great. That's what colleges want. Go out, make money, and then just give us a little to thank us. I will tell you, though, I have this weird, truly it is a unique situation for me, because Phil Grimm is the program lead, and he is getting his PhD in analytics here at HU. Mina Gabriel is across the hall from me. He's a professor of computer science. He got his, I believe he got a master's in computer science from HU. Chad Chu went through the whole system, and he's now in the PhD program. Douglas Rumbaugh, coward.
Awesome.
Weakling, I hope you're out there, Doug. I see you, Doug.
Miss Doug.
Doug is one of the smartest men I've ever met, and he came here for his undergrad. Then he went to Lehigh to be to study engineering, so a real dum-dum. And now he's off at Penn State after teaching here for a while, and he's working on his PhD. Yep. So our program, is a lot of people have come through and taught for us and worked with me, who are products of this system at some level. But Doug is a coward. The real adults, adults teach while getting their PhD. I want you to know this, Doug.
Yeah.
And not just leave us in the cold.
Absolutely.
I know.
No.
Shouldn't talk badly. He's teaching for us in HU Online this spring, so he's good with me now.
He is now an esteemed HU faculty member. But we have another success story, one last success story, and we'll open up to the room for questions. But we have a student that's serving on our alumni panel tomorrow night at our event from 4 to 6 over in our new building over on Chestnut Street. If you're available, you should come. But they were a biotechnology student. Their project 1 and 2 work, when they went and applied to graduate school, in their application process, they were able to talk about their project 1 and 2 in their interview. And because of their project 1 and 2, they got to focus the same research that they did here at grad school. And now they finished grad school, and now they are working in a lab full-time with a science organization. So it's pretty neat to see that progression, that what they started here, they did it at another grad school, and now they're doing it in their professional life and in their work. So if you want to hear more about that story, definitely come to our event tomorrow. But
are we going to reveal the student or nah?
No, come tomorrow. Come tomorrow. So we're going to open
Doug.
up. Oh, yeah, we're going to open it up to the rest of the room here to see if we have any questions this evening, or for any of those online. If we have any questions from our online students.
You in the front row.
Yeah. Okay, so the student's question was, where would be an outside source for fellowships?
I have no idea.
I know an inside source for scholarships.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. So, yeah.
and they would know a lot more about the fellowships. I don't know. The only thing I can probably say is to, and this is for me. For me, I'm science though, so I don't know. I went to the NSF website, so that might also be helpful for fellowships. Some of the bigger organizations.
I only discovered grants.gov today. And so this is what I'm saying. Like,
I know about grants.gov. Okay.
yeah, I know. No, I'm an idiot. What are you talking about? But yeah, so I have to imagine that there are large, that might be a source, but there's also got to be equivalent things because this is something that the government has a vested interest in getting science, tech, research, all these things. So I assume there's got to be compilation resources out there headed up by large organizations and or the federales, but I'm unaware of them.
I don't know if IEEE has stuff on their
Ooh, they
website.
might.
Yeah,
They might.
fellowship stuff.
Depending on your major, there's some professional organizations related to that. So Malik's program, he already said, has one. So they were able to get some recommendations there. I know my program had some. Even
ACM
now,
probably does
like
if you're in computing.
professionally, like I'm also in a research fellowship currently that is related to some of the research that I'm doing, but with a professional organization. So your faculty will know, but fellowships wise, some institutions offer the fellowships related to the grad program, which should be listed on the program that you're looking into. So our office can definitely help you look at that as you're searching. And as Malik said earlier, student success as well. We kind of tag team together. We're a different cool team that can work with you as you're looking for these. So.
Yeah. If you asked me, I probably would message Rebecca and ask her and then relay back
Yep.
to you.
Yeah. Oh, online question. Okay.
Do you have any recommendations or advice for people who
Oh, good question. So Malik and I might be able to answer this one. So the question was, do you have any recommendations for people who want to pursue a graduate program that may not be related to their current undergraduate major? So Malik and I both were business majors for our undergrad, both decided to pivot and go a different direction. Both worked corporate roles and realized we wanted to transition. So Malik, I'll let you talk a little bit more, but it was interesting to say the least. So you go first.
I'm so happy someone asked this question. Shout out to you, whoever you are. You're my favorite.
Probably one of my students.
Right.
You're smart.
So I'm going to approach it from two different angles, right? So one is going to be from a theory and research angle, but then the second is going to be from a personal experience. So there's this really, 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 really old guy a long time ago whose name was Donald Super. Donald Super came up with a theory called career and life development theory, right? So in career and life development, you're going to expose yourself to different experiences academically and non-academically. They're going to shape what your interest and career trajectory is going to go, right? So it's completely normal if you're pursuing a degree in one major, but then you're considering going into a different field to work or pursue your post-bachelor's degree. That is completely normal and it is okay. That's the first thing I would like to say. There's normally a lot of stress and pressure around people who think they have a degree in mechanical engineering, they have to be a mechanical engineer for the rest of their life. Right. So that's from a theory standpoint. What you're going to do and what you're going to expose yourself to is going to shape what you want to do for the rest of your life and what you're going to pursue education in. It's normal. From my personal experience, what helped me was experiencing a lot of different things in the field. So I graduated with a business degree, like Rebecca said, and what I was able to do with that was I opened up my own consulting firm. So I got licensed and certified. I was consulting with nonprofit agencies, government agencies, stuff of that nature. And I was like, man, I really like working with systems. I don't like working in systems. That was not a big thing for me. So that informed what I was going to do next. The next thing I did was go to the government to be a lobbyist. So I was working with the federal government and state government, I'm sorry, and then lobbied at the federal government, and then was a board of director on a government agency. I was like, man, this is fun, but they do not pay me enough. And I have a business degree. Why not use it? So I'm really good with numbers, and I opened my own financial advising practice. So I had a tax company, I had financial advising practice, and I ran an internship program for 4 different locations across PA. And I'm like, man, I love working with people, but I don't like being limited to working with them financially. I want to help them with everything. So that would drew my interest to counseling. And I felt so weird because I got a degree in one area and I didn't know what I wanted to do because I felt like I was confined by that degree. So why I chose the population I chose, working with college students, it was because of people being in a similar spot where they feel like they have to stick to whatever their degree is. And whatever your experience is, as long as you know how to package it and make sense of it, it can put you in that graduate program.
Thank you, Malik. I think Malik is definitely a true testament. You know, when we talk about using those transferable skills and the competencies that we have you focus on while you're here at HU, Malik was able to use the power of that personally, and now taking all those different skill sets in the variety of different roles and background and putting them into who you are as a person, but also professionally. So thank you for sharing that. I know we've reached time this evening. I wish we could continue to go forward because this has been a great conversation. But we just want to thank our panelists, and I hope the audience got some good insight tonight. But definitely come tomorrow if you want to hear more from some of our HU alumni of their journeys while they're here. It's been great to engage with
I
you
didn't
this week
quite
at
get
Career
the
Week.
name of the alumni. You were about to tell
You'll
me.
have to
but
come
I don't-
tomorrow.
It's unbelievable. Self-promotion.
I tried.
Unbelievable.
I really tried.
Let's give a round of applause for our panelists. Thank you. Thank you.
Where's the green room, by the way?